he's Robin. It's just so much fun. You never get bored, ever.
Be still my heart.
While most viewers recognized Robin Williams as the film's comedic lead, Sally Field saw something deeper. Her candor on his actions on Mrs. Doubtfire's set exposed a side of him that was previously unknown. What did she see that made an impression on her? Let's find out why everyone is laughing and prepare to view Robin Williams in a different way. Robin Williams and Sally Field didn't initially cross paths at a glitzy Hollywood event. Yes, it happened in 1993 on the set of Mrs. Doubtfire, a picture that would go on to become a classic among family comedy fans. In this Chris Columbus-helmed film, an estranged father poses as a grizzled Scottish nanny in order to maintain contact with his children following a divorce. As Daniel Hillard, portrayed by Robin Williams, who later became the iconic Mrs. Doubtfire, Sally Field played Miranda, his ex-wife who is now attempting to put her past behind her and protect her children. When they first met, it was the start of more than simply a friendship. It was the meeting of two brilliant performers. A special vibe pervaded the set the second they stepped foot there. Not only was Sally Field sharing the screen with a comic classic, but each moment they were in added a new spark to the performance. It was Williams's unconventional manner that made him famous. Sometimes he'd execute a few takes according to the script's specifications and then abruptly change directions. He would start improvising out of the blue, surprising everyone with lines nobody saw coming, voices that made everyone laugh, and gestures that elevated the most commonplace events to the level of the miraculous. At first, any co-star may have felt overwhelmed. Although she was an actor, Sally Field was special. With poise and inquisitiveness, she took on the task. She made no effort to match his wildly improvised performances. Her character's reactions were more authentic and grounded in the here and now because she responded to them in real time. The scenes they danced in together were a balancing act of planned and unplanned elements. Since Williams never repeated an action, each take seemed new. Since she had no choice but to remain rooted and in the moment, Field delivered an even more impressive performance. Every time Robin changed up her look, the people behind the camera would adjust accordingly. During filming, director Chris Columbus went so far as to employ many cameras simultaneously. Attempting to capture Robin's charm from just one perspective would be futile, so he made sure not to miss a thing. As this happened, Field began to admire Williams for more than simply his comic brilliance. He also appreciated his dogged pursuit of perfection. He didn't want the picture to be ostentatious or showy. Rather, he aimed for it to be genuine, touching, and humorous. Their real-life bond felt kind and considerate, even though they were portraying a divorced couple. Behind his humorous exterior, Field saw a sensitive man who had profound feelings for his co-workers and the art they were doing. Even when he threw her a curveball, Williams praised Field's composure, concentration, and emotional availability. They became close because they were working together on a meaningful narrative, and they both knew it. In addition to making a fantastic film, their first collaboration left an indelible impression on Field. In the midst of a hectic production schedule, they met, and it was the beginning of a friendship built on trust, respect, and humor. And it all started when they faced each other that fateful day, prepared to give life to Mrs. Doubtfire. A distinct and extraordinary bond formed, rather than a mundane one. It was clear to Sally Field early on in their collaboration that Robin Williams was more than simply another hilarious guy. He represented something more profound. Even though she was aware of his untamed energy and sharp humor, she was nevertheless taken aback by his dedication to acting. He was genuinely invested in the job, in getting the tale right, and in living in the now, not only there to make people laugh. Field, who had always given her art her all, could tell from the intensity of her feelings. Robin established a pattern for herself Before shooting, Mrs. Doubtfire began. As the script instructed, he would perform the scene 3 times, each time paying close attention to his words and giving the audience exactly what they were expecting. However, a miraculous event would ensue. He would begin to play after those 3 attempts. He would just allow himself to be creative, improvising by moving lines around, trying different accents, altering facial expressions, and making up scenes that no one had ever written down. When this happened, the atmosphere on set would get electric, as if anything could happen at any moment. This degree of uncertainty may have been annoying for certain performers. However, Sally Field found that it added a unique touch to her work. She stopped being so stiff and started reacting on the fly to Robin's unexpected turns. The intensity of her reactions grew. The feelings she conveyed in the scenarios were genuine rather than staged. Because of this, the characters become more likable, relatable, and engaging. Because of Robin's infectious enthusiasm, working on set became more of a group adventure than a mere chore. When he arrived at work, he would be receptive to new ideas and willing to take risks. Because of such liberation, the crew and actors were able to let their imaginations run wild. Field didn't want to out-invent or outspeed Robin. She just added equilibrium. Field maintained a steady course, in contrast to Robin's many course corrections. A strong chemistry was formed as a result of the contrast. Because of their distinct but complementary acting approaches, their moments together were full of nuanced emotion and comedy. Their bond was unique because of the mutual regard they had. He was bold and had limitless creativity, and Robin admired both of these qualities in Sally. Sally was strong and serene, and she was honest about her emotions. They collaborated well, with one supporting and enhancing the other. Neither one sought to steal the show, not stealing the scene, but delivering the tale in the most genuine and heartfelt way imaginable was the goal. When the cameras were off, the mutual regard remained unchanged. Whether the cameras were rolling or not, Robin was always willing to lend an encouraging word or a funny joke. When he saw that someone around him needed encouragement or a respite, he made sure to offer it. This part of him that Field had seen stuck with her. It revealed to her that beyond the chaotic facade of his characters and jokes was a compassionate individual who aspired to bring joy to people's lives, whether they were on or off screen. Trust, formed through genuine moments of cooperation and creative bravery, was the foundation of their quiet, unassuming bond. Because they trusted one another, they were able to let their guard down and make something truly remarkable. The sincerity, emotion, and humor in their scenes sprang from their connection. Sally Field observed something else in Robin Williams besides this unique bond, a quietness concealed beneath all the hilarity. Years later, Robin chose to come out and tell everyone what she had witnessed, revealing a side of herself that had been kept hidden. Sally Field was on set for Mrs. Doubtfire, doing her best to maintain an air of professionalism when she received the news of her father's death. She was in the camper next to the makeshift courtroom where the dramatic divorce scene was being filmed. A nursing facility was her father's final resting place after a long battle with stroke. Despite her best efforts to keep her composure in front of the cameras, she was overcome with sadness at his death and was unable to perform. Sally made an initial effort to remain composed. She strode onto the scene, settled into the camper, and locked eyes with the camera and her role. She planned to continue acting despite her loss. She had won 2 Oscars and built her career on professionalism. She kept her composure and gave it her best go at being the actor she had trained to be. However, Robin Williams had a sixth sense that something was amiss. He was closely observing Sally, not only making a joke or acting. Even though she made an effort to conceal her anxiety and sadness, he could sense them. Quickly approaching her, he questioned, "Are you okay?" before pulling her away from the set in a calm but authoritative manner. "The hardest thing I've said all day was, 'My father just died.'" She told him the truth. The subsequent events demonstrated his profound concern. No hesitancy on his part. Despite being the principal actor and co-producer with a packed schedule and several sequences to film, he spoke the words, "Oh my God, we need to get you out of here right now." His sole concern at that time was for Sally's safety. Without hesitation, Robin contacted director Chris Columbus. He was able to make last-minute changes to the filming sequence because to his authority behind the camera. "Will Sally be available today for us to film the courtroom crossover shots? Let's change things up." "She must leave," Williams said. Scenes featuring Sally were either rescheduled or postponed. Everyone else on set and in the crew pitched in while she was busy grieving and making funeral preparations. "They shot around me the rest of the day," Field whispered as he recalled something. It wasn't only politeness on Robin's part. He had recognized the real person in need, not simply the role. Until she was able to depart the set and coordinate with her family and brother, he remained by her side. This was a private aspect of Robin, according to Sally, that was never seen to the world. Someone who could read people's feelings and take action to safeguard them, he was very sensitive and intuitive. Being a Hollywood veteran who had seen many famous faces, Sally found it particularly touching to witness such kindness from a celebrity. The environment surrounding Robin, his loved ones, and the experiences of loss and sadness were more important to him than his own personality or performance. Because he could feel Sally's suffering, he stopped the entire set to comfort her. Sally has described the experience as memorable as she looks back. She recalled being in that camper, emotionally frozen and unsure of how to face the day ahead, until Robin appeared, like a friend offering refuge during a storm. There was no commotion or booming voice. He kept to himself. He was a master at his craft. She would always remember him via such little involvement. Although it wasn't in the screenplay, it was a really genuine moment on set. Although Robin Williams was known for her vivacity, improvisational skills, and comic genius, a more profound reality was shown in this moment. He was the kind of buddy who would rush in to comfort someone when he felt their anguish. His genuine warmth and generosity were more noticeable than his humor. Not only did Robin Williams show this generosity to Sally Field, but he did it to everyone in his vicinity. Allow me to go more into another aspect of his character that showcased his genuine kindness and compassion. Robin Williams's heart, more than his ability or enthusiasm, was what made him unique. He was incredibly generous at all times, not only when the cameras were rolling. From the performers and helpers to the lighting crew, everyone on set could feel his genuine kindness. He was kind to everyone he met, taking the time to learn their names, inquire about their lives, and provide a smile when someone was down. Never once did he treat individuals as nothing more than a passing fad. Robin would casually strike up conversations with the makeup artists and grips during lunch breaks, according to one crew member. People felt acknowledged and valued when he was around. Simply by being himself, he had an uplifting effect. Robin had a knack for quietly lifting people's spirits whenever they were down, whether it was via laughter, encouraging words, or just listening. This kindness went much beyond the set of a movie. Robin Williams helped generate millions of dollars for the homeless by co-founding Comic Relief USA. His charitable contributions benefited literacy initiatives, veterans services, and disability advocacy groups, all of which were important to him. Yes, he was famous, but he shone a light on less fortunate people with his fame. With humility and authenticity, he did more than simply speak about change. He actively participated in making it a reality. A moving account of Robin's influence on Sally Field's life has been shared by Field. Despite the passage of time, she continues to sense his presence. When she remarked, "He should be growing old like me," it was with a heavy heart. The words carried the pain of a friend's premature departure. Also, there's the profound understanding that he was an extraordinary human being whose positive influence shone through to everybody who crossed his path. Their connection was built on shared laughter and comfort, and extended well beyond the scope of a single film. When Sally's father passed away, she frequently thinks back to the day Robin assisted her on set. It was just Robin being herself, caring, attentive, and protective, and not some staged, publicity-driven act. He was able to put folks at ease by doing more than simply making them laugh. Not only that, but others noticed the profundity as well. Actors such as Ben Stiller and Al Pacino pointed out that the guy behind the comedic genius had profound feelings. Even when people didn't say a word, Robin could feel their emotions, such as delight, stress, or grief. According to what Sally Field mentioned once, not many people ever seen his other side. They caught glimpses of his wacky antics and quick wit, but missed the subtle sensitivity that set him apart as a human being. That's the thing that really set Robin Williams apart. His comedy brought joy to many around him, but it was his genuine kindness that truly touched their hearts. A room could be read by him, and he could feel the suffering of others and repay it with something genuine. He had a gift for making people feel something, and he did it with humor and empathy alike. Better people were what he left behind in every effort he was a part of, not simply stellar performances. Those around him felt understood, strangers became friends, and sets were more upbeat because of him. Not only the jokes, but the affection that went into them are what Sally Field recalls most vividly as a legacy. Robin Williams's gentle demeanor and boundless generosity belied the deep suffering she was hiding. The laughing betrayed a subtle upheaval. The zest and vitality that had previously characterized him started to wane in the latter chapter of his life. Something terrible was occurring behind all the laughter, jokes, and limitless imagination, something that nobody could see and even fewer could comprehend. Towards the beginning of 2014, Robin Williams was in a place he seldom let the public see. He was no longer as dominant as he once was. Low ratings and the show's cancellation after only one season showed that his most recent TV show, The Crazy Ones, had not made the impression he had hoped for. Someone who had lived their life to the fullest, entertaining millions and flourishing in the limelight, took a major hit. The termination of Robin's employment was more than simply a job. It was the closure of a door he had always believed would remain open. Simultaneously, he was going through profound changes in his own life. He was emotionally scarred by his recent second divorce. In the hopes of finding fresh happiness with Susan Schneider, he had also remarried. It was not simple to adjust to a new marriage while grieving a previous one and coping with a failing profession. As he sought solace, he became disoriented, a man trapped between chapters. A further source of stress was the announcement that Robin had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in May 2014. The prospect of gradually losing the powers that defined him, rapid thinking, dexterity, and wit, was horrifying to the man. Unsteadiness, shaking, memory loss, and psychological abnormalities are common symptoms of Parkinson's disease. The diagnosis exacerbated Robin's anxiety and sadness, which she was already suffering from. It seemed as though his world was collapsing around him, and that his choices were dwindling. Underneath it all, though, was something much more tragic. An autopsy conducted after Robin's death confirmed what everyone suspected. He had been suffering from Lewy body dementia, not the condition originally thought he had. Cognitive, motor, behavioral, and memory impairments characterize this aggressive but extremely uncommon brain illness. Depression, paranoia, disorientation, and hallucinations of varying severity may result. Even doctors have a hard time keeping track of the symptoms since they come and go so often. Without understanding what was causing the storm, Robin was attempting to make sense of it, but he had no clue what was going on in his mind. Some of his closest associates started to sense a shift. As the once enthusiastic and perceptive guy became increasingly nervous and reclusive, his loved ones observed in dismay. On occasion, he would lose track of time, his hands would tremble, and he would develop a dread of losing mental control. These symptoms seemed like the worst kind of betrayal to someone whose whole life had been about living in the now and being spontaneous. While he was in suffering, he hardly spoke about it. Even though he was secretly battling an invisible and perplexing struggle, he continued to smile and jest to the public. That was a quick fall for Robin. Despite his best efforts, the disease persisted, and he was unable to maintain his employment, level of activity, or optimism. Because he didn't know who to seek for help or what he needed, he started to withdraw from society. A mist of melancholy and bewilderment began to envelop the guy who had once brightened every place he entered. The world was horrified to hear of his passing on August 11, 2014. He committed suicide at his California residence. There was an instant and worldwide outpouring of sorrow. Many people had their first realization of just how profoundly he had been suffering as they grieved the passing of a guy who had given so much joy to the lives of his fans, friends, and co-workers. The cruel irony was obvious. Robin Williams, who had been a beacon of joy and laughter for so many, had been engulfed by a disease that had snuffed out her entire soul. Important discussions on mental health, misdiagnosis, and the hidden struggles that many people endure began with his death. It brought attention to the fact that people who appear to be the happiest may actually be going through the worst. Not only did Sally Field and those who knew him well grieve his passing, but they also had to face the harsh truth that he seldom reciprocated the generosity and compassion he showed to others. His tragic conclusion does not diminish the lasting influence he had. He serves as a cautionary tale to go deeper, to keep tabs on those we care about, and to never take a grin for an indication that all is well. Robin Williams was facing something far more unseen and merciless in his last months of life than a medical diagnosis. His deterioration started off subtly, with symptoms that were disorganized and unclear. The terrorist inside my husband's brain was how Susan Schneider, Robin's wife, subsequently characterized the terrifying and unexpected experience. From one second to the next, he might act normally, and then he would act irrationally, terrified, or emotionally detached. The pain of losing control was intolerable for someone whose whole life had been characterized by rapid and imaginative thought. He was losing control of his own mind, which had once made him a genius. Moreover, there was little hope for this sickness, in contrast to many others. There was no relief, no comprehension, and very little calm. He was slowly losing the guy he had always been. It wasn't only a health battle. Christopher Reeve, a lifelong friend of his, wrote one of the most moving tributes. Robin was the one who cheered up Reeve after his devastating tragedy rendered him paraplegic. Robin stormed into the hospital room, claiming to be a Russian doctor with an absurd accent, and informed Reeve that he needed to do an emergency rectal exam. After the accident, Reeve had not laughed since. It wasn't a joke. It was Robin's way of telling him, "You're still here," and it gave him hope. "You're the same." Everyone in Hollywood knew how much his absence meant to his colleagues. Many spoke out at film premieres and industry gatherings after his death to express their grief and joy at his life. Jeff Bridges, the actor, said that the world lost a great spirit whose presence energized everyone around him. Producer Harvey Weinstein was among many who paid tribute to Robin, promising to carry on the joyous work for which he was famous. Personality shone through in these tributes as much as professionalism. He had an impact on countless individuals, both in and out of the spotlight. More tributes poured in from all throughout the entertainment industry. One of Robin's best friends, Billy Crystal, gave an emotional acceptance speech at that year's Emmys. "He brought a smile to our faces," he added, his voice quivering. "Hard." Whoopi Goldberg, another longtime friend, simply said, "It's like losing a part of yourself." Former President Barack Obama issued a statement describing Robin as an airman, a doctor, a genie, a nanny, and everything in between. Every time you saw him, he was the greatest friend you could ever imagine. However, he was unique. Though he seemed extraterrestrial when he first entered our lives, he managed to touch every part of the human soul. Not only on set and on red carpets, the wave of sadness reached far and wide. The internet was ablaze with condolences posted by people all across the globe. Even those who had never met Robin felt the pain of losing a close friend when Robin passed away. Someone said they were in the car and had to pull over when they learned of his death because they were so devastated. It was common to see such type of response. Robin had been there for a lot of people during the good times and the bad. Watching his films on rainy days was a comfort. Listening to his interviews was an honest way to pass the time, and his comedic timing could lift anyone's spirits. The impact of Robin Williams extends well beyond his film career. It is a legacy of joy, solace, and iconic characters that fans will never forget. Many listeners first encountered his enchantment through his vocal role as the genie in Aladdin. Thanks to Robin's improvisational skills and quick wit, the genie came to life, radiating warmth, vitality, and heart. Everyone, from kids to grown-ups, can quote his lines and laugh about it. As a father who would give his life for his children, Robin demonstrated his profound devotion to family in Mrs. Doubtfire. His performances evoked both laughter and tears from his audience. Both the comedic timing and the profound emotional reality conveyed by this part are what fans will remember most about it. His sincere performance allowed people to recognize themselves or others they care about in him. A generation was profoundly affected by his portrayal of Mr. Keating in Dead Poets Society. Teaching his students to carpe diem, or make the most of every moment, he helped them discover their own voices. As a source of inspiration and motivation, that remark is commonly used by people today, especially during pivotal moments in their lives. His performances as Patch Adams and Good Will Hunting were reassuring to fans because of the knowledge, generosity, and depth of emotion he gave to both films. His talent was in making people laugh while also understanding them on a profound level. He had a knack for combining humor with humanity. Many years after his death, his legacy lives on in the adoration of his followers. Movie marathons, tributes, and fan art on the internet helped to perpetuate his legacy. Robin Williams was more than a comic to many. He was also a mentor, a friend, and a beacon of hope in their lives. His joy endures. Do you agree or disagree with Sally Field's assessment of Robin Williams, including his generosity, their friendship, and the sorrow he suffered in silence? Please share your thoughts with us. Leave a comment with your ideas.